Hello. Yes, this is the time. Greetings. Welcome to Midwife Monday. I'm a little wobbly here because I'm at my house and I'm balancing on some pillows, which is not ideal. Yeah, I don't know about Mighty Networks. They messed up the time zones a bunch of months ago and never got it corrected. So I'll go look and make sure I'm not messing it up. But the time is 3 Eastern. I wonder what it says over there. What does it say over there? It says 4 Eastern? What does it say? Should be 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, just like it was. Nothing has changed except I am in a new place. So my time zone has changed. It says 3 Central. Nope. It's 2 Central. So I'll have to take a look at it later. But anyway, thanks for being here. If you're here, you must have gotten the magic combination of whatever was needed to show up at the right time today with the wrong time being posted. Yeah, I'll go back and look at it. Like I said, it had a snafu back when the daylight savings happened a couple of months ago, and I basically had to lie about the time to get it to say the time I wanted. So I'll have to go see. Okay, enough about that. Good to see everybody. I'm at home in our new place in Kentucky, which is amazing and lovely and might be loud because I'm home. So that's a change for this relaunching of Midwife Monday. I will likely be in my new office soon. It's getting set up, and the internet really is the thing that takes the longest around here. So as soon as that is functioning, I will be happy to be over there for the virtual stuff. It will be a relief because the kids are not used to it happening here, and they're not really used to being quiet and all of that. So hello, everybody. Let me see who's here. Sweden and Louisiana and Los Angeles. And yeah, I think Felicia's in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Madeline, hello. Yes. Maybe Felicia. I don't have a scale here, but that's possible because that generally happens in the months postpartum. And yeah, we've been so busy, and I wouldn't say I'm more active than I was, but just kind of different routines. So that's not surprising for me because Rumi's almost 9 months. And I know not everybody loses pregnancy weight in the first 9 months, but I usually do. And it's usually really fast. And this time I tried to make it slower, actually, so that I could have good milk for him because he's still nursing 100%, or I should say 98%, 99%. Once in a while, he'll take a taste of food, but otherwise, he is not interested at all. So we are doing the nursing full time. I mean, we were full time, but full time. He is chunky and beautiful and growing well. So, I congratulate myself regularly, as should many of you, for growing a human and then feeding a human exclusively with your own body with no help. It's crazy that we do this. Yeah, Sierra. So maybe you're of a similar body type or metabolism. I don't know. I don't know that I've seen a photo of you, but yeah, it's usually hard, or it has been in the past, hard to keep weight on when breastfeeding. And my experience has been that then, milk supply suffers for one, and then just general vitality and energy, because you're literally losing even more stores to the baby. So I try pretty deliberately to of course, eat well. And moving is such a stressor. So that's something I've been focusing on lately. I'm just eating even better than I normally do, cutting out sugar, and just really eating like pure whole foods because I kind of need all the help I can get right now with the stress of not sleeping and all of the new things and the fact that he won't eat food yet. So yeah, that's a side people don't talk about maybe as much. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely the side of like, I've been breastfeeding and I thought you were supposed to lose weight and I'm not. And, there's so many women that experience that. But then there's this other side, women that are afraid to be like, I can't keep weight on when I'm nursing. And good fats are amazing, like lots of fats with your food, like just pour oil and butter all over everything. And try to eat regularly. I know that's hard for me. I don't often feel hungry, especially if I'm busy. So anyway, I guess we were going to talk about that today. You never know what's going to come up. So if you're new to these events, hello, and thank you for being here. Midwife Monday is something I started, I don't even remember, last year or this year sometime. Man, what year is it? And yeah, it's been a fun, regular thing, I think. There's been more and more people on every time. There are plenty to rewatch or watch again or just watch if you've never seen them over on our Indie Birth channel. They're all saved there with topics. I tried my best because I never know what the topic's going to be. So questions, thoughts, comments, always welcome in the chat. I think you have to log in to chat perhaps. So, figure that out so that I can see who's here. Hi from Oklahoma. Hello from Colorado. Yeah, I hear you, Megan. Like, I feel the same way. Moving kind of turned my eating into crap just because, like you're getting used to a new place. And honestly, there's so much good food here. And by good food, I mean like there's like farm everything, like local meats of every kind, yeah, really great farmers market stuff, sourdough bread, like really amazing stuff that I've just been all about it, like trying all of it. And then just a week ago, at the peak of my not sleeping, I thought I just have to eat better right now. Like I can't really do the extra kind of stuff. Like even if I needed the calories, sugar in particular, because I just don't feel good and I'm already tired. So from one nursing mom to another, I get it. It's hard to keep up feeding someone 24/7. So great. There are already some questions and I would love to maybe talk about those things. Sharon's question, that looks great. Dahlia, that'll be easy. Happy to share those things. But first, we're going to pull a card because it's kind of turned into a ritual sort of thing here on Midwife Monday. And those of you that have been here, of course, have been familiar with a couple of the decks that I've used, and I have a new one today. I always have a new deck. I taught the Witchery 101 class in June, which, by the way, I think I'll do that again next month. And yeah, I was just super inspired by teaching that and the women there sharing about things like tarot decks. For one, we shared about a lot of topics. So I was inspired to buy a tarot deck because I didn't have one. I have so many decks. I have so many, but not a tarot. So I'll show you what the deck is so you can see. Hello. Oh, okay. So it's the Light Seers deck. Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann. It's really beautiful, I think, artistry, which is basically how I picked it. And so if you're not familiar with tarot, then, you're learning with me here. I'm learning. This was kind of my road trip project, and it's been my moving project. So it was a new deck kind of for a new phase of life, new location, new everything. And on the road trip here, I got to know the deck by pulling a few cards every day and doing readings for myself or my husband as he was driving, or friends if I was, texting people along the way. So that was really fun. And I still have a really long way to go because there are so many cards in this deck, like so many. So I'm going to pull one just for us today. and you can see what you think. Hmm. So this is the Chariot. I'll show you. The cards are really beautiful. They're really colorful. And some of them are really kind of intense. Something I love about this deck is as I'm learning to read it, I feel like I can do a pretty good job of understanding the card even without reading the book. I usually read the book too. But first, just kind of looking at it and thinking, like, okay, what does this feel like? I don't know. I'm going to look this one up because I haven't pulled this one yet. But black and white, duality, the two, kind of charging, I don't know, maybe into the future, towards something new. You can see that guy is kind of like perched. Looks pretty excited to me, like something cool is coming. And he looks ready for it. So let's see. Let's see what the book says about the Chariot. Do. So, maybe you don't know because you might not know tarot, but this card is from the major arcana. So that's the cards that have heavier meaning is how I would say it. She says the big guns of the tarot, so they convey the major energies, whereas the minor arcana, if you're familiar with tarot, is like wands, cups, swords, that kind of thing. So this is from the major, so it's a perhaps important energy for us to consider here today. Some of the words, the vocabulary that go along with this card: victory, speed and action, determination, harnessing and uniting opposing energies, success, travel, confidence, willpower, and control. So I think I hit on a couple of those. I don't think it's working. Yeah, if you can still hear me, somebody should comment because it's telling me it's trying to reconnect. I'm not sure what that means. Can people hear me still? It's very odd. Okay, cool. I don't know. It's telling me it's reconnecting, but blah. Okay, so let's see. It's a magical time for taking inspired action. Push ahead with willpower and determination because you will get there. The Chariot reminds you that while you are on the way to your goal, you need to make decisions about your best path forward. If you feel pulled in two different directions, know that you will be able to coax both of these energies towards the same target. Charging ahead without paying attention to your path can sometimes be harmful to those in your wake. So take care not to trample on those on your way up the mountain. Choose the thing you really want, focus your efforts, and move swiftly. If you aren't sure what your direction is, it's time to make some plans, align goals, and spark dreams. And the mantra is, I choose who I am becoming, and I run toward it with conviction and consistent motion. That's cool. So, a very action-based card. Maybe that's for me. Maybe that's for you. Maybe that's for all of us. Oh yeah, you didn't see my Girls Run the World shirt. Cute, huh? Girls Run the World, compliments of the Berea, Kentucky Goodwill. All right, well, I'll just keep going because I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but I'm glad you can hear me. Let's look back at some of the topics. So I liked Sharon's question. I think it won't be too long of a monologue here about blood work and ultrasounds during my pregnancies. I would say for the most part, I did not do those things, but I did a handful of times. And for me, well, if you don't know all of my stories, many of you don't. The first was a hospital birth, normal obstetric care. So, yes, I did all those things with the first. And then the second, I probably did do a lot of those things until I chose a home birth at the very last minute. And then for all the babies after 3 through 10, I didn't have any ultrasounds at all. And it was definitely something that came up a couple of times that I considered. But in the end, I felt like it wasn't really going to change anything, which I think is generally true about ultrasound. It doesn't change anything. But some people feel like that would help them if they knew whatever. But for me, I felt like it wouldn't. It would add extra worry, it would add extra anxiety, and wouldn't change anything. So I really believe in the power of intention, of prayer, of magic, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to spend my time not looking for a problem, but focusing on, health and all of that in my baby. Not to say there aren't good reasons to get one, but in my pregnancies, nothing really ever came up other than a bunch of my babies had really weird heart patterns. So nothing is wrong with them. But I didn't know when they were in utero what was going on. Every time with a couple of mine, I think 3 of them, 3 girls, the last 3 girls, for whatever reason, had really funky heart rates in utero. So much so that, and I've told this story before, midwife friends, not Margot, people that aren't as close to me, definitely, if I asked them, recommended going to a perinatalogist, getting ultrasounds, checking it out. And I didn't. I just found my way through in other ways and didn't want to see that. So that's that. Blood work, same. First pregnancy, second pregnancy, yes. And then I think in my third, I did because I was a student midwife and I really wanted to just see what I was learning on paper, kind of like I was the lab experiment. But I've never had anything come up in blood work. So it was more of a study project and maybe a confidence builder. It really probably helped me gain confidence through the next 7 of my pregnancies to not really feel like I needed that. I don't think that everybody should do that or even has to do that, but I knew my body, I knew how I was feeling, I knew nutrition for my body and my baby and how I was affected by all of those things. So I never saw the need. Although my last pregnancy and Rumi's pregnancy, I did get my thyroid tested early in pregnancy just because it was something that was kind of nagging me to see for whatever reason. And then, it was sort of serendipitous. Someone mentioned it. A friend of mine mentioned it. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, why would she mention that? Maybe I should just do it. And it was before all the virus nonsense. So it was easy enough to go into the lab in Sedona, pay for it myself. And, they drew my blood and I was done. And it was fine. So I think there's a time and a place, obviously, for all of the things, for the tests, for checking up on things because you want to, or because you're a smart person that, knows enough to know what you'd be looking for. Although there are plenty of smart people that don't know that either, right? So you could ask for help. But it can be totally helpful. When I'm working with women, and I know you didn't ask this, I don't make anyone do blood work, but I do suggest it if there's something that feels like it would help to know. And usually, let's say in the case of like iron deficiency, usually someone has signs of that. And so the lab work is just to confirm that, because taking supplemental iron, for example, isn't something you just want people to do. So making sure that that is actually what the issue is, but it usually confirms something that you already know or have a feeling about. So I don't make anyone do that, but I was thinking of that recently, actually, that it can be motivating for women to see that number. And sometimes they need to be motivated by seeing that. So if they're iron, for example, if they are becoming anemic, sometimes women don't want to hear that as readily. You know, they're like, well, okay, I'll do these dietary things, but it's not really helping. And so perhaps getting a lab draw where they can see the number on paper can make it more real for some women to be like, oh, okay, yes, now I see that. And that's not really that surprising. I just was scared to go to a lab, or, you know, I didn't want my blood drawn. Well, it's not really the most fun thing, but it's also not a big deal, especially if you're in a state where you can order your own blood work. Just go do it. You don't need anyone to do it for you. And let's see. Oh yeah, Dahlia. Nathan and I met when I came across his podcast years ago. And he recently changed the name of it. So it's called Beloved Holistics now, but it was called OB-GYNO Wino, which is a ridiculous name, is it not, for a podcast? I mean, in the best way. So, you know, if you've ever looked up podcasts and you want to listen to some obstetrical stuff, it's all pretty dry and boring. And, you know, the name of his at the time was not dry or boring. And so I listened to it and I just thought, like, who is this person? You know, who is this person? And he seemed like a pretty normal person, but, you know, still the podcast was so medicalized because it was, and I think still is, based on the ACOG bulletins. So anyway, I was intrigued to put that in a short story. And so I think I emailed him or messaged him and just said, like, hey, I like your podcast. Nice to meet you. And we talked on the phone. And while we were on the phone, it just kind of came in for me where I hadn't planned it, but I was like, hey, would you ever want to teach for our midwifery school? You obviously love to, you know, share information. You're obviously like super smart, and what would you think about that? And if I recall, he was very excited about that, and we made just some tentative plans to have him do some lectures on video for the students. So that's how it started. And just over time, I don't know, you know how it goes. Just talking to someone more, getting to know them, getting to know his wife, Stephanie, and knowing more about them personally, and just knowing that, you know, those are our people, that they are very similar to us, and really great friends. And, you know, part of the reason we moved to Kentucky in general was just to be closer to them. And we'll hopefully see them later this week. I'm super excited because we haven't seen them in person in a year. It's been a whole year. So we will get to hug them and see little Penny, and, you know, the kids love them too. They're just like super fun people. And he's amazing. I couldn't say enough about him as a friend and a smart doctor, and someone that really, truly, I think, understands midwifery and birth the way we all do, to the degree that he can as a male. And so that's really comforting. And, you know, it's really great for, I think, people that we get to work with, women that we get to work with, because we have such a cool connection to, you know, for me here locally, like if someone needs anything, if they need a doctor for anything, if they need an ultrasound, it's collaboration at its best. You know, we should all in this line of work have a best friend that's an obstetrician. And it doesn't matter, I don't think, if the person's male or female. But I think midwives and doctors can work really well together. And it's to the benefit of everybody if we're all, being humble. And there's tons of stuff, obviously, that doctors study, right, that we don't really know, we don't really focus on. And so it's a cool relationship to give him more insight into how it is to be a midwife, how to attend home births, and then opposite, help. I need help all the time with things like lab work, help me out. What does this mean? Or help me interpret this study. So it's a really beautiful thing. I don't know. I would love to attend births together. And I think that's something we've talked about for sure. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, when it would work. And we're not super close location wise. We're like an hour and a half from each other. So I don't know if there starts to be women that are appearing, kind of in between in wherever that is in Kentucky. I think it sounds like a fabulous idea to have a midwife and an OB at their home birth. Then I think we'd love to see how that goes and work together. And, I think it would be great for women, if that's what they want, to have that experience. And we'd get to just have fun with it, I'm sure, and kind of trade off and each do what we think we're best at. I think it sounds amazing. So yeah, I'm totally up for it. I think he is too. And it's just a matter of timing and, how that all works out. All right. Very fast labors. Lindsay, that's exciting. You're 40 weeks. Congratulations. Your last birth was 10 minutes. That's amazing. I want to hear more about that, Lindsay. I mean, it doesn't have to be right now, but you should write me an email. I think that's fascinating. I'm curious if you were like sleeping and you just like woke up and had a baby. That was always my dream. I had a pretty dreamy 9th birth, pretty fast, but 10 minutes? Nope, it wasn't 10 minutes. That's amazing. Yeah, I guess I'm just curious about, well, you said there were no signs. So, oh man, I could see why you would not want to leave your house. And perhaps that's a good idea. Perhaps that's a good idea. I'm wondering when you birthed at last time, 40 weeks, whatever. Since this is my live event here, I'll just answer your question, sort of, Alexa, by opening up another can of worms, which is you don't have to get a birth certificate. And I'm not going to go into all of that here, but I think people think they do, or maybe they don't quite understand how they wouldn't or why they wouldn't, but definitely consider it. It's always interesting to me too when there are people like, pretty much all of us that are having home births or maybe free births, and then we register our kids with the state. I mean, totally do it if you want, but I think there's not always a lot of thought around this next step. So I don't care what you do. I don't have any judgment on it, but just if you didn't know that was a thing, you can get on our social, so social.indiebirth.org. If you're not already a member, I can't remember if you are, and search a couple of threads because people ask this all of the time. And there's a lot of opinions on it, and there's definitely information to learn. But instead of figuring out how you get one, I always just offer the other thing, which is you don't have to get one. And maybe that would solve your problem, and maybe it would not. Well, I guess my computer is just going to tell me it's unstable the whole time, even though it doesn't seem like that's the case. How about some other questions and topics? I don't know how we flew through those so quickly. Usually there's more topics than I can get to here. Anybody got anything else? A question? There's always time for another card if we don't. I'm trying to think what I'm up to here that is midwifey, since this is Midwife Mondays. Well, while you're all typing, I do have an office. I'm super excited to start using it. for virtual visits, for in-person visits, and classes. I am definitely wanting to do an indie birth free workshop here in Kentucky in September and maybe October. I mean, not both. Preferably September, but if I don't get it all worked out, then October. And I think there are probably people here even that I'll get to meet, because if you live anywhere close to Kentucky or want to make a weekend out of it, when I taught it in Sedona, people came from New Mexico, California, Oregon, all the places, and sometimes super far, like Wisconsin, Minnesota. So I think once I announce it here in Kentucky, we'll have a really good crowd of people from all over. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's also possible that I teach one in Lexington, Kentucky as well, which is the city that is north of here, kind of like the major city. So trying to work that out. And if so, I might do both. I might do one up there, maybe this fall, and one here in September. And I'm super excited to do that. I love teaching that workshop. I really love showing the birth videos, and I'm really just so curious to see what the reaction, the response will be in this area of the world, because licensing is new here, and I really don't know where people stand. I don't know if there are a lot of women excited about licensed midwifery because it's new and that feels really cool and legitimate. I don't know if there are people that are looking for outside of the box options at all. I don't know. So that'll be my education, is offering that class. Oh, wow, Megan, you and I are like, we're connected. We're connected always, if I answered all the questions. Yeah, the Birth Retreat Center is something we've been talking more about, I guess, since, I'm here now, and there's so much more open land. Like, I'm looking out my back window on many, many acres. They're not ours. There's properties behind us. I see some cows, super comparatively to the West Coast, inexpensive, expansive land. So it's feeling like that could be here somewhere in Kentucky. But again, it's really hard to know how to go about making it happen. I guess I could use my own model of finding this house for our family as the way to go, try a similar tactic. But getting clear on the vision is the hardest part. It was easy for our family in a sense because I feel like I really knew what I wanted. But this retreat center, it's Margot and I, it's a huge project. And it's not that we're disagreeing. It's more just like options are completely open. We are open to wherever, whatever, however this could look. Maybe it's a tiny place to start, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's got hundreds of acres and, people live on it and students come and stay. I think that would be the ideal dream. But the brain is like, how does that happen? So the big dream, since you asked, Mallory, the big dream would be, yes, a beautiful, peaceful, amazing place that pregnant women and their families would choose to come to birth. And that might be for all kinds of reasons, from, not being able to find someone near them to, knowing us and wanting kind of what we offer, being exposed to our students, our philosophy, like coming exactly for that, which is really mostly what I imagine. It's not just going to be like any old place, any old birth center. People that might have special needs, and by that I mean, breech, twins. I'm not an expert in those things, but certainly we have friends that are. And the dream would be to have all kinds of cool practitioners here for maybe a couple of months at a time. So we'd have the midwives as the core staff, lots of students, and then possibly other people coming in, like Nathan. That's a great example, coming in to help out or, for specific births even. and have it be a place where people can really be grounded, be close to nature. It would be ideal if we were on land that was growing and probably was being caretaken, not by us personally, but other people on the land, with animals and food, basically, so that we would be operating self-sustainably for this center, and for women to stay after birth for X amount of time and really be taken care of. So all of the beautiful postpartum work that people like Mayetta do, all the stuff we do as midwives, really taking it up a notch, because we wouldn't have to go anywhere, right? We'd be right here with people, and figuring out all the beautiful ways that we can really nurture the family before they leave. And I would imagine that would be a really, really amazing birth experience if that's what someone wanted. So that's the dream. I think Margot, right, sent out a newsletter last week about it, and we mention it a lot, but we're waiting for whatever magic needs to drop in. And I don't know who that is. I don't know what that is. I guess if I dream about it, maybe someday somebody will just call us and be like, hey, I came in contact with a billionaire and they want to give you this giant piece of property that already has several structures on it. That would be ideal, right? So having to build structures would be taking more time and all of that. So there are many things out there, if you've ever searched, and we certainly do all the time, retreat centers, there's plenty of places that have been set up as retreat centers for whatever, yoga retreats, teaching children, whatever, and they've moved on, but the retreat center is already set up to do something like this. That would be amazing. Those things generally are, from what I've seen, in the $1 million range or more. 1 million up, 1 million and up may get you a really awesome retreat center here in the US. Certainly cheaper outside of the country, but that's a whole other thing that I can't wrap my mind around right now. Just having moved, nope, I don't think I'm leaving the US anytime soon. It would be very difficult to do that. So I don't know. I guess we're wide open, and we know that it'll happen when it's time. And we know our students will be a huge part of it, a necessary part of it. It will fill the gap right now that we have with the school, which is we can't apprentice everybody. Margot and I can't personally. We don't have enough births even going on for that. So although it's not our responsibility to get people apprenticeships, we really want all of you, all of you out there that are in the school, we want you to be midwives. So we need to facilitate you getting the hands-on training and the in-person learning and the mentorship. We need that to be more readily available to you so that you can confidently go out into the world and say, I'm a midwife and I've done all of the training and I've done all of the things, and be ready to do it. So we do feel responsible for helping with that part. We want to do that, and we will be so thrilled when this finally happens one day. I don't know when it will be, but the school, we didn't necessarily think would happen for a long time. About even 6 or 7 years ago, the school itself seemed very distant in our brains, and that happened overnight. Now, of course, it wasn't requiring this kind of investment. It was just really Margot and I coming up with it. But it happened overnight. So I know that things can change quickly. And when there's an opportunity, we will take advantage of it. Yeah, it would be amazing. Yeah, I haven't been to the farm, but from my understanding, yes, for sure. For sure, the farm kind of was that original place. And yeah, it seems like more versions are needed, more places like that are needed in general. So yeah, thank you all for your support. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Mallory, for asking. Yeah, I know. It will happen when it's time. And again, not to keep reiterating the same thing, but just getting us here feels like a major step. So I think what unfolds in the next months and years will be exciting. I don't quite know why I'm here. And, do we ever know, I guess? But I've been thinking just really directly about that since being here. I love it. It's beautiful. Life is really great. I have nothing to complain about at all, but I don't know exactly why I'm here. So it could be this retreat center idea. It could be something else entirely. It could be not birth related. I have no idea. Oh, morning sickness. That's a very complicated topic only because there's 3 million things to try. I know you know. And if you are nauseous, it's like the worst. It's the worst. I was just saying that last night. Um, yeah, I was reflecting on the fact that I'm not pregnant and I don't really want to be pregnant ever again. I don't think. And that was in my visceral memory. So sorry if that makes it worse. But that first 13 weeks, it's so hard. It's so bad when you can't eat. And, there's all these great suggestions, but if you're nauseous, sometimes you can't even try them. So it just starts to be like this rabbit hole of a topic because you can research it all and like get your ginger chews ready and your, whatever remedy. And, what do you do? It just either works or it doesn't. And honestly, my experience was that none of the things worked. They didn't work until 13 weeks was up and then it was fine. So I do think there's a reason. There is a podcast actually called The Protective Benefits of Morning Sickness. So if you want to give yourself like some optimism there, then that's maybe a good one to listen to. That's in our archives. So indiebirth.org/podcast archives. But right, I mean, Megan's suggesting great things. You can try balancing protein and fats. Blood sugar is often a culprit of morning sickness. So people just aren't eating regularly enough for what their pregnant systems are requiring. And that can be really shocking. When non-pregnant, you can go 8 hours without eating. But pregnant, suddenly you can't go more than an hour and a half. And if you do, you feel like crap or you pass out or, whatever. So blood sugar, certainly hormones are high, in that first trimester. Then you have all kinds of other unknowns and things that are unique to each woman, from liver, liver support needed perhaps, to being depleted after having many babies, which may be a lot like liver stuff. Yeah, and then food aversions and all kinds of things. Often women are eating a certain way, non-pregnant, so whatever, maybe they're vegan or maybe they're carnivores, and then whatever it is, the minute they get pregnant, whatever they were doing is just, they cannot do it anymore for whatever reason. And the body just is totally kind of freaking out, trying to figure out how to even get food in. And then of course, not eating is not a great thing for morning sickness. So I think, yeah, so I'm sorry, Gianna. I don't have the magic fix. Electrolyte drinks can be helpful. So often women who are not feeling good are dehydrated, actually. And it's a weird catch-22, right? So water can make a lot of pregnant women feel so nauseous. So they don't drink water. And then they get dehydrated and they're even more nauseous. So electrolyte drinks can be a solution to that. You can make one, Google it. There's a million recipes online. You can buy one that's more natural. Sometimes you can just make some homemade lemonade, right, with honey or maple syrup and throw in some salt. It's that easy. And something like that might not totally fix it. But in the meantime, if you can stay hydrated, especially in the heat of the summer, then yes, over time, it sort of starts to pass, as you know. So I'm sorry, it's debilitating. It really is. And it's so hard when you have a baby or a kid. a child to take care of, perhaps, it makes it even harder to try and function. Getting out, getting air was always helpful, even though that's another catch 22 because often you just want to sit on the couch or lay down. But if you can get out, if it's nice out, just getting air, moving around can really take your mind off of it for a little while. That's what I found. Sweet. I don't know. Any more comments or questions? I feel like this is so new again, in a sense. I'm a little not used to it. I had my 5 weeks off here from Midwife Monday, and I feel new again. And also a little like, how do we do this again? Do we really just talk? I think we do. I think that's really all this is. So I'm available for a couple more minutes if people have stuff they want to say. What was I going to say? Oh, I guess I was babbling about the office. Yes, the classes. Um, yeah, I'm back on call, which is interesting. So I got a nice 6-month break. I would highly recommend that to anyone. Now and again, whether you're a doula, a midwife, whatever, it was much needed. And to be totally honest, there's a lot of me that might take another 6-month break in a couple of months. Like it was that nice and it went that fast. And I'm trying daily to just have appreciation and gratefulness for a different feeling now. Like there's no reason this can't be enjoyable. Not that you think your phone ringing in the middle of the night is enjoyable, but like it's just different. It's just something new right now. And focusing my energies in supporting other people again and some students and virtual people. So it's not all stuff that I have to leave the house for, but it is all stuff that I have to be more readily available for and not turn my phone off at night, which is a really, really nice luxury to have. I will tell you that. Oh, you want me to draw a card for the birth center? That would be lovely. I will do that before we go. I know, sharing this deck a lot, like on podcasts. So many of you who listen to those know that the land had a card, and it's all been so potent. Like this deck is really good. So I like your suggestion, Dahlia. Let's do it quick here before we go. Okay, so I guess you could focus with me. You could just hold the energy of what I described to you as this retreat center coming into manifestation, wherever that is, whenever that is. And I'm going to ask for the card that we're pulling to just give us more information. That's all. We'll just see. Cool. I'll show you. It's the 5 of Cups. So I'll look it up in a minute, but I'm kind of looking at it too here on the reflection, the camera rather. So 5 of Cups, cups being water and emotion. So not sure what the significance of the 5 is, but what other information do we need? So one of the cups kind of has like magical kind of potion looking stuff in it. There's these beautiful stars up above. She looks kind of like protected and relaxed and safe and just kind of like reflecting. And then there's kind of this hole, right? What is that? It's like an actual hole, kind of dark and not terribly deep, but there's a light in there. There's a light. And the ground is kind of cracked. So I don't know. Groundbreaking comes to mind. The light that's underneath, right? That we're kind of waiting to see which way to go or be inspired by. Yeah, that's a great idea, Alexa? Five senses? Yeah, why does she have her foot in the one bowl, I wonder? Maybe like just waiting for the right timing, which of course I've said the whole time here, but I don't know. Let me see what the book says because that does feel like a very, very meaningful pull here. So the Five of Cups. Let's see. Interesting. So the illusion is lifting, and you may suddenly find yourself in the middle of a reality that is disappointing. If your dark night was a result of someone else's deception, you will need to find the seeds of forgiveness. When we realize that the future we are working toward is no longer an option, it's easy to focus on the loss and allow our energy to stagnate and spiral into self pity. Don't allow your life force to drain away with the things you once loved. So, I don't know. Maybe this means it's not happening, or at least not right now. It's all about envisioning a brighter future, dismantling grief, reclaiming happiness, and consciously stepping back onto a path filled with hope. So, in other words, the future is bright, but maybe there's going to be some disappointment or disillusionment over this vision. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, although, the books I think are definitely only so useful. Something she said in the book, the author of these cards, which I agree with, and not just today, like as I'm learning to read them, is that our initial response or interpretation of a card or our intuition is so valuable. So that's not what the book said. That's not at all the vibe I got. I kind of think this looks like something new and exciting being birthed underground here. But maybe I'm just, being very optimistic. I don't know. All right, everyone. That was interesting. Interesting way to end here. I loved hanging out with you all here. I'm in Kentucky and nobody really cares since you're probably all in the same spot, but it was a nice way to come back here after a little break. I'm so grateful that I can do that. And, everything really went so well that I can be sitting here to do this again with you. I'll see you next week. I will go correct the time zone over there, but you're hearing it right from me. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. That's what time I'll be here from now on. I hope you have a great week. And as always, just email me if you have questions or things you want me to talk about here. That's usually very helpful. All right, everybody. Bye.